as we get further on into the fall season and we get into the thick of the college football season, we also get to the beginning of the college basketball season. And coming up tonight at 7 o'clock, the Oakland Golden Grizzlies open their season with an exhibition game against Eastern Michigan University at the O-Arena on the campus of Oakland University. And joining us now to talk about that and more is head coach Greg Kampe of the Oakland Golden Grizzlies basketball team. Coach, thanks for being with us today.
Tyler, glad you had me. I'm really excited about the season to get going, so let's have some fun and figure it out.
Yeah, back to a little bit more of normalcy this year. Of course, we're still in the middle of the pandemic. It's still there's still a lot to navigate around that situation, but nowhere near as severe, I wouldn't think from the outside looking in, at least it seems that way, as last season. How are things different this year, maybe more normal? In your team's operations and the NCAA's operations of their college basketball season than in the year previous?
Well, it is more normal than it was last year, obviously, but it's still not what it used to be. The good thing is tonight fans are going to be allowed in the arena the first time in 2 years. I'm interested to see, normally an exhibition game would get, a fourth of the arena full. So I'm interested to see if that happens tonight or if it's less or if it's more. It could be less because people are still afraid to go. But, you watch college football games and you see 100,000 people sitting next to each other in Ann Arbor. So I would surely think people will show up. And so I'm excited about that. I only have 2 players on my team, Tyler, that have ever played a college basketball game in front of someone. It's a young team, but it's an amazing statistic when you think about it. And so get the juices flowing and get back to, as you said, some sense of normalcy is really, I'm looking forward to it.
And it's just that different feel playing a college basketball game in an environment where you have your stands or your away opponent's stands completely full. It's loud, it's energetic, and it's just that environment of college basketball, much like, as you mentioned on the football side, that the players feed off of, and really anybody that's enjoying college basketball feeds off too. So it's really nice to see that back in greater capacity this year than before, and a little bit more normalcy in that regard. Last year, your team, 12-18 overall, 10-10 in the Horizon League, finished as the 3rd seed in that conference going into the tournament, and then made it all the way into the championship game where, of course, you fell to Cleveland State by a score of 80-69. This year, a really exciting team coming back. Like you said, you got a really exciting team coming in. Particularly, you have a very interesting transfer coming in from Marquette and Jamal Cain, who you even said you think is an NBA prospect. Tell us a little bit about Jamal Cain and what he brings to this squad this year that will hopefully lead to a much improved Oakland University basketball team.
Well, the season last year, it was an anomaly with COVID. We played our first game with 3 days of practice. And when I say 3 days of practice, there was no summer, there was no fall, there was nothing. There was 3 days of practice. And you just can't do that. And we started the season 0-9, which we had a COVID would go through our program in early October, and we were completely shut down for 30 days. We played the games, though, because, I looked at it as there are people that have lost their jobs. There's businesses shut down. We've got a chance for these young men to get out and at least, playing games and do what they want to do. And so, in retrospect, I'm not sure we should have played the first 4 or 5 of those games. We probably should have spent a couple weeks prepping and getting them ready. But as the season went on, we got a lot better. And by the end of it, as you said, we were in the championship game. We've got almost everybody back, 2 role players that aren't back. But other than that, we have, every major contributor back. And then we bring in Jamal Cain, who he's 6'8", he's long, he's athletic. He averaged 10 points a game in the Big East. He because of COVID, they all got an extra year, and he decided to spend his COVID year back home. He's from Pontiac. And at Marquette, he was a kid in their offense. He stood in the corner, and they had a player named Marcus Howard who led the country in scoring, who had the ball in his hands all the time. And he just kind of waited for the ball to be thrown to him, where at our place, we're going to feature him. And it's very similar to a guy we had a decade ago named Raul Marshall, who when he transferred here, we turned him into the star of our team. And another guy named Kendrick Nunn, who averaged 9 or 10 points a game at Illinois, and then came here and averaged 27 a game. So we have a history of being able to take high major players and featuring them in our offense, and that's what we're going to do with Jamal. And I'll be very surprised if he doesn't average 20 points a game and maybe 10 rebounds a game and just put up some fantastic numbers, because he's very talented.
Yeah, and you have a lot of other talent across the board as well. Another really interesting player on your team is Jalen Moore, coming back, 537 points, 252 assists, 50 steals last season. Another guy defensively, Trey Townsend, with 24 blocks in the previous season. You got a lot of depth on this team this year, and like you said, bringing in Kane and having some of these guys come back, having that veteran presence there, that can be huge, especially in the Horizon League, where we often see those veteran teams have really successful seasons and in many cases in the NCAA tournament then be very challenging for a lot of these other teams that come in from bigger conferences with a lot more notoriety and end up being surprised by these little engines that could coming from smaller leagues like the Horizon.
Well, the Horizon League has had a team in the national championship game twice in the last decade. Mm-hmm. So our league has performed pretty well. Butler is no longer in our league, but when they were in the Horizon League, they got to 2 straight national championship games, lost to Duke on a last-second shot. And I think they actually, I can't remember who the other team was they played. But so our league has a history of doing very well in the NCAA tournament. The last couple of years has not been good, and but I think our league's going to be as good as it's been since Oakland's been in the league. And and that's because of the pandemic, because of the extra COVID year. Everybody's got all their players back, and the normal maturation of seniors moving on and bringing in freshmen didn't occur this year. The seniors stayed, and Cleveland State, who beat us in the championship game, all their players came back, and 4 of them should have graduated. Wright State has their team back. One of their players did not come back, a very good one, but for the most part, they're all back. And then there's, Detroit was one of the hottest teams in the league last year at the end, and they're back, and they've got a great player in Antoine Davis. So the league's going to be very competitive, and my guess is the team that wins it and gets to the NCAA tournament, and this could be a year we get 2 teams in. My guess is that team will be a very hard out in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and it's going to be an even more competitive season. Teams coming back hungry, coming back with their fans in the stands behind them, giving them the extra inspiration coming out of that COVID season, and without the looming monster, so to speak, behind them each and every week of a COVID-19 outbreak shutting down their season in part for the better part of several days or weeks even, or taking players out of their team. Still a precaution that's being taken, and still something that is there, but not nearly as severe as in past seasons. We're joined by Greg Kampe, head coach of the Oakland University men's basketball team. They have their first game tonight, 7 o'clock at the Arena. They'll be taking on Eastern Michigan University in a COVID relief charity exhibition game that will be benefiting the Covenant Academy, which is a COVID relief organization. Coach Kampe, what ultimately led to the decision between your staff and the staff at Eastern Michigan University to hold this exhibition game supporting this particular charity?
Well, Stan Heath is a new coach there, and he and I have known each other for a long time. And he called in the spring about playing this year, and I said we couldn't do it, that our schedule's full. And then a few months later, he called back and said, "Do you want to do one of those secret scrimmages?" And I said, "No, but 3 or 4 years ago when the flood happened in Houston, we did a flood relief game. Would you be interested in doing a charity thing?" And he absolutely said yes. And anytime you can get a game that doesn't count in front of fans against good competition, you find out a lot about your team. So we both agreed to it, and then we looked into what the regulations and rules are, and we're going to host it this year, and then next year, if it's still viable to do, if COVID is still a problem and we're still looking to ways to raise money, we'll do another one at their place. So it's just two friends got together that would like to play each other, and that's how it happened.
We're joined by Greg Kampe, Oakland University head basketball coach. That exhibition game benefiting Covenant Academy, a COVID-19 relief organization, will be happening tonight at the O Arena, 7 o'clock p.m. The Oakland Golden Grizzlies taking on the Eastern Michigan Eagles at the O Arena in this exhibition game. The regular season will kick off November 9th when they go on the road and play another very competitive team out east in West Virginia, coached by another legendary head coach in Bob Huggins out there. And Coach Kampe, of course, you are now currently the third longest tenured head coach in Division I college basketball, behind Jim Boeheim and the soon-to-be retired Mike Krzyzewski. It's your 38th season at the helm. What keeps you going? What keeps you going at this job and keeps you continuing your long and illustrious career at Oakland University?
Well, I'm a competitive person, and what other business is there that you can go out and have a scoreboard and watch young men grow, from boys to men. You get them when they're 18 and let them go when they're 22 or 23 years old, and have a real influence on shaping their lives. So that is what motivates me every day, and as long as that competitive gene is in me, and as long as that I think I'm still doing some good for these young men, I'm going to do this. I enjoy it, and I don't see that changing in the near future. And so it's I don't feel I've ever gone to work a day in my life. And there aren't a lot of people that can say that. So very fortunate, been lucky to stay at the same school. Our business is one where you come and go and you get fired, and, all the friends that I started with, 45 years ago in this business, every one of them has been fired. And many of them get new jobs and then get fired again. That's just what this business is. And I've been lucky that hasn't happened yet. That day will come, though. If I don't retire, that day will come. So I know that, and just battling every day.
And so that brings up another interesting question too, because you mentioned that coaches are hired and they're fired. Some of them move on to other jobs. They're shifting around a lot, and of course we're in the middle of rivalry week on the football side between Michigan and Michigan State, and a lot of talk about with the success that Michigan State football has had. Rumors swirling around with Mel Tucker and whether or not he may be interested in other jobs at schools like USC or most particularly LSU. So that brings up the question: you've been there for 38 years at Oakland University. You've had quite a lot of success there. What has kept you at Oakland University instead of seeking some of these other opportunities to go to other schools, maybe in bigger leagues with bigger financial backing from boosters and from their athletic departments? Why Oakland, and why still Oakland as your home and your place to be?
Well, the honest answer is that I had 3 boys and a family that loved living in this area. We lived in Oakland County, lived on a lake. The school systems were great. Their friends, and every job that I was offered and every opportunity that I had, when I sat down and looked at it, I just didn't want to move my boys. I just didn't want to do that. And I'm at a school that I've been at a long time, and I've got it, I'm working at it and got it going where, if I could sneak away and watch them play their sports, I could do it and not have to worry about, reading in the newspaper that I wasn't at some recruiting event. I think people knew who I was. And so that was probably the biggest reason I didn't leave. I love my boys, and I wanted them to have everything they could possibly have. And why did I need anything else? I had a wife that also was employed and had a good earning, so it wasn't like I needed to chase money. But I will tell you, I never was offered, you're talking about Mel Tucker, and if he gets offered $8 or $9 million, I've never been offered that. And if somebody came and offered me $8 or $9 million, Tyler, I'd probably have to take it and go. So, but the truth of the matter is it's very seldom in someone's life that they can grow with a school. I professionally grew with a university that grew. When I got to Oakland, there were 8,000 students. Maybe 800 lived on campus, and now we're 20,000, close to 5,000 on campus. We're nationally known. You know, we're just not a little school in the middle of Michigan now. People know you. You know, when I first got here, they thought I was going to California, and now people know everything about us, and it's just been very. I'm giving you a long answer, but I mean, there is no single reason why I've stayed.
Yeah, you can go somewhere else and continue a legacy, or you can stay in a place that you love and build a legacy. And that's certainly what you've done over there at Oakland University. And really excited about this upcoming season for you in the Horizon League and back in a more competitive play in the NCAA this year with a little more normalcy as well. Again, that Oakland University Expedition game tonight against Eastern Michigan, a charity expedition game benefiting Covenant Academy, which is a COVID relief organization. 7 o'clock at the O-Arena against Eastern Michigan. If you're unable to attend, you can watch on ESPN Plus with Neil Rule on play-by-play and Rex Walters on color commentary as well. Coach, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. It's $10 is all it is to get in. You're not going to be able to go to a Division I college basketball game very often for $10. So, and they're in a bad seat in our place. So come on out and enjoy it.
That's for sure.